What should you do if you miss the buzz that you got when you used to drink alcohol? Some people drink to relax. Others drink because they believe that it helps them de-stress and unwind. And others like the buzz or the euphoric feeling that they get from the first couple of drinks that they have. And some people can miss that feeling and they worry that after they've quit drinking, that is going to have a negative impact, that they're going to somehow be worse off without that in their lives. And other people can miss the feeling of being able to numb out and escape from their worries, their anxieties, and their low moods. And this can keep people stuck. They can't imagine a life without that euphoric high, without that liquid induced chemical euphoric rush. And they fear that not drinking will make their life miserable and boring, and that they'll totally miss the buzz that they used to get from alcohol. And this was a big reason that I used to drink, particularly numbing out from negative feelings and uncomfortable emotions that I just didn't want to face up to. It caused me to stay stuck for over 2 decades. I wasn't facing up to past issues from my childhood. I was simply pushing them away, suppressing them. I wasn't looking any closer. I was simply drinking to numb out. And of course, I liked the euphoric feeling that I got. I liked that buzz, that first initial hit after I drank the first one or two drinks. And I knew that I could get a fast hit as soon as I opened that first bottle of wine. And I'd quickly feel as though my anxiety and my worries were fading away as that buzz, that euphoria crept up on me. But it was only when I started to become really mindful and started to pay attention to my feelings and my emotions and what I experienced when I was drinking that I began to get much more clarity and more information that actually served me. It helped me because I began to log everything down in my journal and I noticed what was going on. And by doing this, it enabled me to gather data. And that data was so important because when I looked at it, I was able to notice that I was even feeling a sense of excitement and a buzz and a kind of euphoria when I purchased alcohol, not when I was drinking alcohol. Without even taking a drink, I'd become aware that it was having an effect on me. And I realized that a lot of this was from the anticipation of having a drink, not the actual act of drinking itself. I felt the excitement building in the hour before I knew I'd be drinking, but it started as soon as I actually bought the alcohol in the shop, and then it built throughout the course of the day. But I only became able to notice this when I became conscious and took the time to pay attention to what was going on. Once I began drinking, of course, I felt effects from the booze, but that excitement or buzz, it had pretty much gone. Yes, there was an initial hit with the first drink, but after that, I was left with a kind of drowsy and numbed out feeling. And the more I wrote down in my journal, the more I realized that it was starting to act a bit like a placebo effect on me. A lot of the buzz and the excitement was from a relief combined with some kind of excitement that I had the wine, I had the beer ready for that evening. It was happening without me even drinking. And it's important for you to take a look at your own behavior around alcohol and start to notice, when does that euphoric, excited, buzz-like feeling show up for you? Is it actually when you're drinking, or is it when you're buying the booze in the store, or is it in the hours before you start drinking? And over the years that I was drinking, I had ended up tricking myself into thinking that the actual drink was causing the feelings. It was only when I got curious and I got really clear on this by paying attention to my own behavior, my own feelings, my own emotions, that I started to realize it was almost all to do with a sense of anticipation. That was what was making me feel happier and excited. And of course, the alcohol did affect me too, but so much of the feeling was the build up, knowing that I'd be having alcohol later. The anticipation was always much greater than the event of drinking itself. And you need to explore this much closer if you're missing that feeling of euphoria, that feeling of excitement, and that buzz that you believe comes from drinking alcohol. Because my bet is that the only buzz comes from the very first drink, and a lot of that excitement and euphoric feeling happens in the hours before you actually drink. Of course, when you drink, there's a chemical reaction, and that initial burst of euphoria does happen, but over time we build up a tolerance and it doesn't last for long. Our brains will try to take us back to a state of homeostasis, which is our baseline of happiness. So when we have a huge hit of feel good chemicals, our body will release chemicals to bring us back down to our usual level. It releases dynorphin, which will pull you back to a state of homeostasis. That feel good, that euphoria, it doesn't last long. And it doesn't take long before we're left needing another drink to try and chase that euphoric buzz, that high feeling, but you never get it back. It never feels as good as the very first drink. And the more I noticed, the more I paid attention to what was going on, the more I realized that the whole thing was a complete illusion. Alcohol was tricking me. And worst of all, it was keeping me well and truly stuck. That euphoric high went away so quickly. And just like most other drugs, they don't last for very long. With alcohol, you're lucky if it lasts for more than 60 to 90 minutes. And after that, there's nothing but a downhill slope of negative feelings, negative emotions, and negative outcomes. And that's not to mention how I would feel the next day after I drank. There were hangovers, there was regrettable behavior to deal with, low motivation, and low energy. It took me time to get clarity on this, but it really changed my perspective about alcohol. I realized that I was artificially stimulating my brain to create feelings of reward, pleasure, and fake happiness. And I knew this was part of the reason why I'd become addicted, but it wasn't until I actually looked closer at it that I started to realize what was going on. And I kept being drawn back to alcohol. I kept chasing that feel good experience over and over without ever stopping to look at exactly what was showing up in my life and when those feelings were coming up for me. When we drink, we start a fight in our brains between the feel good chemicals that are released when we take the first drink and the chemicals our brain releases to bring us back down to that state of homeostasis. When the feel good chemicals are released, our brain and body are doing all they can to bring everything back into line and get us back to that baseline where we belong. Each time we create this rush of pleasure, our brain wants to dial it all down more and more. Dopamine versus dynorphin, that's essentially what happens. And we never get the same buzz. I actually think we may always be seeking nothing more than a memory. The memory of the very first drinks that we ever had remain imprinted in our mind, imprinted in our brains, and we never actually get it. I truly believe that a lot of cravings come from that deeply imprinted memory of the first time we ever had that euphoric buzz. And every drink we take after that and every craving we experience after that is chasing that original memory of the first euphoric buzz we ever had. Think about how you probably used to feel the effects of drinking. It probably didn't take you much to feel the effects, maybe just one glass. Now compare that with how much you might need now to get the same outcome. Can you even get the same buzz, the same feeling? I know I couldn't, and I doubt that you can. We build up a tolerance. I got to a point where even a bottle or more of wine would hardly have any effect on me whatsoever. But we still can miss that euphoric buzz. Now, I used to do a lot of running until I injured my knee. I would do marathons and half marathons, and I would often experience what people describe as a runner's high. I would feel a buzz, a euphoric feeling, and that was both before the running events and after I'd crossed the finish line. It feels like the same sort of thing, the same sort of buzz, but it's natural, of course. And it isn't quite as powerful as what you might get from a dangerous poison that drugs us and releases chemicals that can cause us to become addicted. But it gave me true pleasure. And I've managed to find plenty of things in my life that allow me to release those feel-good chemicals in a natural way. We all have those feel-good chemicals in our bodies. We just need to do the right things that work for us in order that we can tap into the natural human pharmacy that we have within us. And they can make you feel amazing. The things that work for me are generally exercise and vigorous activities that get my heart rate up. They tend to work really, really well for me, and they release those feel-good chemicals. But there's other things that push me outside my comfort zone also give me that buzz, that euphoric feeling. Public speaking, something that I was really scared of, it still makes me anxious. But after I've stood on a stage and talked in front of a group of people, I have that same buzz. Of course, it's different for everyone, and there's lots of activities, hobbies, and pastimes that you can tap into if you take the time to look and explore it and experiment with it, that will give you that same natural boost, that same feeling of euphoria, that incredible buzz. You need to take into account the fact that alcohol and drugs are only giving a short-term sense of gratification. After that, there's no happiness, there's no good memories. Whereas something that creates memories, something truly positive, is going to add to your long-term happiness. It's really important to pay attention to what you're doing in your life. For example, a wonderful day out with your family where you spend the day connecting, being really engaged and enjoying each other's company while you laugh together, is going to create amazing memories, and it's going to give you long-lasting happiness. Whereas sitting at home on your own, drinking 2 or 3 bottles of wine, it might give you some short-term gratification, but afterwards it takes away from your long-term happiness. You end up worse than before you started drinking. Think about the wonderful experiences you've had in your life that you can remember with complete fondness. Experiences are what make a real difference to our memories. They give you long-term happiness, whereas materialism and buying things acts in the same way. It acts like a short-term sense of gratification. So pay attention to where you're getting that euphoria from, where you're getting that buzz from, because materialism and buying things, you tend not to remember that. I bet you can remember days out with your family or your friends, vacations that you've had where you had a great time. You created memories, but you probably can't remember memories of when you made an expensive purchase with amazing fondness, and I bet they don't put a smile on your face. You want to be making memories. You want to be doing things that really add to your long-term happiness. Spend some time exploring it, and you'll soon be able to find things that give you that buzz, that give you that excitement, and give you that sense of euphoria. And they'll also stop you wanting to numb out, because you'll want to do these things. You'll want to feel engaged, and you'll want to feel present and connected. So take some time to think about that and really get curious about it in your journal. Try and add to your long-term happiness. And if you're missing alcohol and the euphoric high and the buzz that you get, keep digging deeper. Pay close attention to what's going on. What's happening before you even drink? Is alcohol playing tricks on you? And find out how you can get those same feelings, that same buzz, in a way that will add to your overall happiness and well-being instead of taking away from it. Because you can. You just need to look closer. You just need to get curious, and you just need to dig a whole lot deeper. If you've not got my new book, How to Quit Alcohol in 50 Days, definitely check that out, because it'll help you dig into this in a lot more depth. There's exercises to complete at the end of each chapter. You read one chapter every single day, you complete the exercises, and it holds your hand and takes you on a structured path to quitting drinking. So even if you've already quit, I think it'll help. It'll give you more insights, and it'll allow you to overcome any challenges that might have come up for you.